In this world, neither humans nor lions can survive in isolation. As the functional ecosystems continue to fade due to human activity, all the more these wild animals become reliant on human beings. While it's true that some people are slowly getting close to these creatures, one must not forget that these animals tend to be consistent to their nature and biology, especially when provoked. Aside from being territorial, lions are extremely protective of their cubs too. They'll risk their lives and fight any predator who intends to harm their young. There are lots of recorded cases in which lions attack humans, and mostly the damages are fatal. These horrible events seem to put the boundaries between lions and humans once again. However, it seemed that a zookeeper from South Africa doesn't know anything about these dangers. He gets inside a den and picks up a cub as if he's picking up a kitten or puppy. But when a lioness saw what he did, the events that followed would surely leave you in awe. With a lot of possible jobs and professions in the world, it's safe to say that only a few people would accept the challenge of being a zookeeper. While there are cute and completely harmless animals in the zoo, no one can tell where you'll be assigned. In this case, Kevin Richardson from South Africa seemed to land in the worst position possible. Assigned to look after a group of lions, Kevin knows that his job is no joke. Either female or male lions can be aggressive in the blink of an eye. He's aware these beasts are ready to attack and tear through any kind of enemy once they feel aggravated. Still, he didn't say no to the job. He's confidently up for the challenge. Of course, Kevin Richardson did his assignment before accepting the job. For many years, he'd been learning about lions and lionesses as well as their cubs. Known for their beauty and strength, the zookeeper is aware that lions wouldn't be called the king of the jungle for nothing. It's interesting to know that when it comes to food, a group of lionesses called a pride does most of the hunting. The males, on the other hand, defend their territory. But when it comes to protecting the younger members of the family, the lions and the lionesses are both a force to be reckoned with. They'll attack anyone who poses dangers to their cubs. But the zookeeper seems to have the wild beasts under his fingertips. Despite knowing a lot about the animals he had to care for, Kevin knows that he couldn't afford to be careless. One mistake in dealing with lions can get him injured or worse, his life. The kings of the jungle are fully aware of their strength, especially when they smell danger. Without a common language to use, Kevin had to rely on his wit and instinct. But one day it seemed Kevin got too confident to enter the animal den. The lion enclosure is home to female and male lions. He had a job to do and made it sure that he would have a remembrance. Without protective gears or weapons, Kevin made his way inside. He walked in where adorable cubs lie in wait. Was he supposed to take photos? With his video camera on, Kevin slowly walks inside the lion's enclosure. The lioness just stared at him, however her eyes were evidently on the lookout. Her cubs are with her and she doesn't seem to detect any sign of danger. Kevin had to be attentive. Any sign of anxiousness can lead to an unfortunate event. Although it wasn't his first time entering the enclosure, the zookeeper still feels a little bit nervous whenever he gets too close. Slowly and quietly, Kevin approached the groom. With his heart in his hand, he then picks up a cub. Lunchtime's approaching and there are jobs to be done. The other staff waited outside. The lioness wouldn't just sit there and watch. What happened next was jaw-dropping. Kevin knows how to appear harmless to the lions. With years of experience dealing with their behaviors, he had learned how to act confidently. Although his life is always at risk whenever he approaches them, he knew he'd always say yes to the job. He must never appear anxious or agitated, or else the lions will react differently. The zookeeper seemed to be lost in thought while holding an adorable cub in hand. The lioness wasted no second and jumps on him. Dumbstruck, all that Kevin could do was raise his hands and cover his face. The massive beast could easily tear him into pieces, but the fatal attack didn't happen. Instead, the lioness acted in a gesture of embrace. She seemed to miss the zookeeper. What could be the reason for this sudden jump for joy? The lioness didn't attack Kevin in a fierce mode that's meant to hurt him. Instead, the happy mother was in playful mode. The zookeeper had been with her since she became pregnant. An unusual friendship between human and lion had blossomed within a span of just few months. Just like in humans, the pregnant lioness remembered how the zookeeper kept her well fed, comfortable, and protected. In the wild, it wouldn't be this easy to survive. The lioness seemed to show her appreciation because the zookeeper had taken good care of her while she was in a vulnerable condition. As if saying thank you, the lioness jumped on Kevin and was in the gesture of hugging a dear friend. How's this possible? No mother would want to be separated from her kids, be it human or animal. Kevin knows he's risking his life to separate the cubs from the lionesses. However, being a zookeeper, he had jobs to do. For those lions in captivity, there's a strict nutritional plan, and the zookeepers have to follow them strictly. Kevin has to separate the cubs to feed them properly. Knowing that one day he'd eventually come down to this task, Kevin worked a way out of constant sight of the pregnant lioness. He wants her to be comfortable with him. Whenever he comes to the enclosure, he would greet the lioness and ask if she's okay, as if talking to a fellow human. At first, Kevin was really cautious and always attentive. There are times when he'd stand and watch for hours from outside the animal enclosure. There are also days when the lions wouldn't be in a good mood for a variety of reasons. It could be weather or other lions. However, even if he can't get close enough, he made sure the animals can see him every day. For Kevin, caring for animals is just like caring for humans too. One needs to be compassionate and understanding, but most of all, one has to devote time. As patient as he can, Kevin included in his schedule a playtime with the lions. He called the daily encounters office meetings. It was just like a regular job in a city. Anyone who can build a close relationship with animals, especially the wild ones, seems exceptional. Not all people are given the chance to see these magnificent creatures. Sometimes it takes a considerable amount of money and courage to do so. Undeniably, Kevin Richardson is one of those brave and fortunate people who'd been allowed to enter the territory of the kings of the jungle. Following a rigorous work schedule every day, Kevin had soon learned the language of the wild beasts. He'd say hi to lions before starting on his jobs, and he'd make sure to say goodbye when heading home. As the lions began to feel safe in his presence, his coworkers in the zoo began to call him the Lion Whisperer. Not all humans have the opportunity to see lions. As the world heads towards development, the natural habitats of these animals are continuously getting destroyed and put in peril. Some breeds of lions are now considered endangered species. Even if some people are raising awareness, some choose to stay silent about the alarming issue. With these unfortunate happenings, one can consider himself lucky at the mere sight of these majestic creatures. It's not impossible that one day their population will just disappear. That would be heartbreaking. Given the chance to be close and to be treated as a friend, Kevin Richardson knows this kind of experience is something to nurture in his lifetime. Even if he's aware that anything could go wrong at any moment, he chooses to trust the lions as the beasts trust him too. Even the people who visit zoos and lion sanctuaries rarely see cubs. Either they are heavily protected by the mothers or they need delicate care and attention. In the jungle, the female lions do everything they can to hide their cubs from possible predators, but in captivity, the lions can still find ways on how to defend their young. Kevin was so thankful he had the chance to interact with the cubs, especially those who were just weeks old. He knew from his learning that cubs love to be cuddled. They see it as a sign of protection from other predators and even from their own kind. The zookeeper was glad their daily cuddling sessions allowed the cubs to show their affection towards him. In the process, Kevin learned something new as well. A big part of Kevin's confidence in his job was acquired through experience. The major tips are provided in the books, but he has to muster enough courage to get as close as possible to these wild beasts. His daily routine had helped him to build a relationship with the lions. Aside from talking to zoologists and researchers, Kevin takes the time to learn about them even more. He loves to observe. While there's no shortage of reference from the internet about lions, their behaviors, and literally about everything that relates to them, nothing beats real experience. Although the steps on how to approach, take care of, and how to deal with these animals can be read from books, zoologists and researchers know there's more than just meets the eye. While adult lions can be easily fed, the lionesses that have just given birth had to be treated with double caution. She's still recovering, and just like humans, female lions tend to be aggressive when provoked, even to their own kind. Kevin knew his task wasn't easy. It's time for lunch. Although the lions tend to be calm whenever they're eating, one wrong move in their surroundings and they get alarmed and agitated easily. Aside from bringing food to the lion's enclosure, Kevin and some of his aides couldn't leave. Even if they don't have to move so they could interrupt the eating beasts, they have to be patient. Their job is to guard the lioness and the cubs while they're eating. Why do they need to watch? The lioness and her cubs aren't isolated from the pride, a group of female lions. Inside the enclosure, they still have to adapt and mingle with the others. The pride loves to interact with one another and play, and even Kevin enjoys these moments. It is his favorite time of the day when he can finally play with the lions. But he has to make sure they've eaten well or else their moods won't be so good. During feeding time, Kevin and some of the zoo staff have to stay and wait until they're finished. They need to restrain the rest of the lions so they wouldn't interrupt the mother and cubs from eating. It can easily lead to a dangerous situation, and in the meantime, playtime has to be put on hold. While it's true that lions are one of the most feared groups of animals either in the jungle or animal sanctuaries, they can only inflict that fear when they come of age, but until their cubs they have to hide under the protection of their mother. They're as vulnerable as kittens. At 8 weeks old, the cubs would be permitted to play with the rest of the pride. While they might have the strength to play inside their enclosure, Kevin still has to be on guard for a couple of months. The cubs are still smaller than the adult ones, and they mustn't fall victim in the sense of security. Until they can defend themselves from everyone around them, Kevin has to wait. Well, he loved it anyway. As absurd as it may sound, Kevin Richardson feels the responsibility of a father towards the lion family in captivity. Winning over the trust of the lioness and doing everything just to get close to the cubs wasn't an easy task. He had to spend hours watching them and learning about their behavior. He quietly approached the beast and showed them he's a friend. Now more than ever, the zookeeper feels the need to protect them. Inevitably, a time will come when the cubs will be introduced to the father and they'll be allowed to mingle with the other lions. So as long as he has the opportunity to protect the lions he learned to love dearly, Kevin knows he'll stay. Kevin's job in the zoo is enjoyable. Being naturally fond of animals, he doesn't regret becoming a zookeeper instead of pursuing a career in the city that can pay him well. However, he has to admit there are days where he really feels tired and exhausted. But even so, he has no plans of leaving. It's as if he felt he was really born for this. He wanted to be a lion whisperer, and he knows he's as close to his dreams as possible. One day, after playing almost all day with a lioness and adorable cubs, Kevin lay down on a grass bed inside the lion's enclosure to take a rest. Seeing the lions calmed and resting, he decided to take a nap. Instead of seeing helpless prey, the lioness came closer and laid beside Kevin like a protective mom. Just like for humans, being a mother is a cumbersome job. The lioness had to deal with her cubs and make them feel loved and protected despite their father away from them. While Kevin does everything to lend a helping hand, there are still limits. Even though they think they can understand each other, there are feelings and emotions that only the lioness can feel towards the cubs. As days passed, Kevin and his special friend weren't aware that taking a nap together was slowly becoming a hobby. The other staff at the zoo would see them resting, and the sight was too good to be true. No one can believe at first how Kevin can walk in and out safely every day, and now he can nap with the animals without worrying about his life. Indeed, a special friendship had been formed. Being a keeper of lions is something that would take a lot of convincing to most people. In South Africa, people are used to seeing animals, even the wild ones, and most of them thought they'd be in this world forever, being taken care of or not. But the job description seemed to knock on Kevin's heart. He had no doubts he'd be a good fit, despite the danger. Kevin goes to the job the same way corporate employees go to the office. He works hard but still finds time to chill and relax with the lions. There was never a day in his life where he regretted where he is today. He even wants to recruit people and show them that kindness and compassion can make miracles. The lion's population is in rapid decline, not only in South Africa but in the rest of the world as well, as the wildlife habitats of these wild animals are being affected by a variety of human activities. All the more Kevin feels the need to protect his friends. He knows in his own simple ways he can inspire people to do the same. One by one, he started teaching his co-zookeepers the secret language of the lions. He's grateful that he's successfully proven he's not a threat to the lioness and his cubs. His efforts had paid off and he'd earned their trust in the process. Thinking to himself, Kevin knew he still had more to give to his friends. What could that possibly be? Kevin believes that if he can, others can do it as well. His special friendship with these massive beasts inspired him to reach out to others and bring awareness to what's happening. He can't imagine a day when there's no lions roaming around and showing off their majestic stands and fearsome clans. They're wild and they can kill, yet they're only being true to their nature. Kevin fully understands that. While there's no such thing as a human-predator conflict between them, Kevin knows that the lions are facing plenty of dangers out there, such as disease, unscrupulous hunting, bushmeat, and illegal trade, among others. But above all these threats, Kevin Richardson is determined to keep them safe no matter what. Lions are perhaps the most magnificent animals on the planet. Unfortunately, we humans don't appreciate them as much as we should. To make things worse, we even lock up these creatures and make them show animals that appear in private parties. Sheila, one truly unique lioness, had such a sad life. Sheila's a unique lioness who used to be a show animal. Unfortunately, her owner didn't take proper care of her. The hard work started taking its toll on her health and it only got worse. One day, she was lucky enough to get rescued. Unfortunately, Sheila was in such a bad condition the rescuers thought they were too late. Still, they tried to get her back on her feet, but everything seemed pointless. Just when they were about to put her to sleep, one remarkable thing happened and changed Sheila's life for good. Back in July 2009, Sheila was rescued by the US Department of Agriculture along with a few other animals. All the animals were in bad shape, but Sheila's condition was the worst. This lioness looked like skin and bones. She was weak and frail. She seemed to be in such a bad condition her rescuers thought she wouldn't get to live another day. However, they decided to give their best and help the poor lioness out. Sheila was held in an entertainment center located in Texas. She was one of the animals who performed in entertainment shows, and her task was to amuse the audience. Not only were her performances exhausting, but Sheila's caretaker didn't pay much attention to her or the other animals. Ihe, founder of InSync organization, explained, when the animals are no longer useful to him, he throws them aside and stops taking care of them. Sheila was born in Africa, however she was stolen and brought to Texas. This means the poor creature was held captive since the day she was born. As soon as she was brought to Texas, Sheila started making a living as a pet and appearing in photo shoots. It took only a year for this lifestyle to start harming her health. Sheila's condition was so bad that she couldn't stand up on her own. Her rescuers pointed out that she had very little muscle coordination, and thus when she walked, her legs would slip out from under her. Sheila was so weak that she could barely lift her head and drink water and refused to eat anything. It seemed she didn't want to live anymore. The saddest thing is that Sheila is one of so many animals who share this horrible fate. It's common for people to steal animals, take them away from their natural habitat, and use them for entertainment. Only few of these captured animals manage to survive in these horrible conditions. Most of them die after a few years. Luckily, Sheila had something amazing waiting for her. The organization that rescued Sheila in the first place didn't know how to help her out. That's when they decided to hand her over to InSync Exotics Wildlife Rescue and Education Center, an animal social welfare organization. This organization shelters and looks after animals who've been suffering for a while. The U.S. Agriculture Department turned to the Wildlife Rescue Center hoping they could save Sheila. If not, they approved Sheila's euthanization. As soon as Sheila was admitted into the organization, the rescuers started working on helping her out. They were willing to do anything to help get her back in shape. Since Sheila rejected food, the rescuers would hand feed her. The founder of InSync said, "For 2 weeks I had to go in with Sheila and hand feed her." She added further, "I'd meatball balls and literally stuff them down her throat." No matter what the team did, Sheila's health wasn't getting any better. The team started losing all hope. An InSync team member said that Sheila had very little muscle coordination, and when she walked, her legs would slip out from under her. It seemed as if nothing could help her out. Even the rescuers themselves were shocked. It seemed as if Sheila was reluctant to get better. After some time, she even stopped moving. Sheila would even throw up after eating, which made her even sicker than before. The team didn't know what to do, but still they weren't willing to give up. Despite the efforts that the rescuers put in, Sheila's health condition wasn't improving. The team then started considering USDA's advice and thinking about euthanizing this lioness. The rescuers noticed Sheila was in a lot of pain and wanted to end her suffering. Leaving her like this would be nothing but torture, so the team started considering giving Sheila a merciful death. Losing a unique lioness like Sheila would be such a shame. Her unique color made her stand out from all the other animals. We're quite sure other wildcats are jealous of her looks. When it comes to her unique color, it's caused by a unique gene called the color inhibitor or chinchilla gene. Only lionesses from Timbavati in South Africa look like Sheila does, and moments before she was euthanized, something incredible happened. Soon the InSync team made another discovery. Sheila was suffering from a lack of vitamin A and a disease known as toxoplasmosis. The parasites that carry this disease get mixed in with the blood. Toxoplasmosis is not harmful to humans but can be quite dangerous for cats. The team was worried about saving Sheila. If she wouldn't eat anything, how would she take her medicine? Toxoplasmosis is an infection commonly found in cats. When an animal's immune system isn't strong enough to fight infections, toxoplasmosis is very likely to occur. The symptoms of this disease are lack of coordination, breathing difficulties, disorientation, lethargy, anorexia, enlarged lymph nodes, and even blindness. If not cured, the disease can cause death. The rescuers started immediately treating Sheila's condition with antibiotics. They were aware it was already too late for the treatment and were unsure about the results. Still, they decided to give it a try. Getting Sheila to take her antibiotics was not an easy task. At first, she refused to take it, but then started to change her mind. To everyone's surprise, Sheila started getting better. She started walking and eating on her own. Everyone thought the medicine she was taking helped Sheila get better, but in reality there was something else, something no one else noticed before. The InSync team was glad to share the good news on social media. Sheila's made a remarkable improvement. She's regained muscle control, swallows easily, and runs and hops like a bunny. However, the team still couldn't understand what made Sheila change her mind. She was reluctant to take antibiotics and all of a sudden decided to start taking them. Sheila was living in a big cage which had another one attached to it, and there was a special someone living in the neighboring chamber. This special someone helped Sheila get better, and the rescuers were shocked when they realized it. What do you think? Who lived in that next chamber? A handsome lion lived in the chamber next to Sheila's. From the moment these two noticed each other, they started bonding, and this handsome guy's name is Khan. Soon Sheila fell in love with Khan, and it took the team quite a while to notice the affection they had for each other. But when Sheila started getting better at such a fast pace, the team realized it was because of Khan's company. Unfortunately, he also had a painful past. Khan is a 6-year-old lion, and he was rescued by the organization a few months before Sheila. Khan was a show animal, and his main task was to entertain the audience. He'd often appear in private parties. In order to do his job, Khan was carted to different events every day. A hectic schedule like this started making him sick, but his caretaker didn't pay attention to Khan and still made him perform despite his illness. Khan's living conditions were pathetic. When the team found him, he was malnourished and weighed 100 pounds less than the average male lion his age. Similarly to Sheila, his owner treated him poorly. Khan's living space was very small and it hampered his physical growth. All of this made him do something that was quite unexpected. Khan was frustrated and bored, and this made him chew his own tail off. As a result, the tip of his tail became raw and swollen, and if the InSync team hadn't found him in time, he would have died. Kehi explained, when Khan came, the end of his tail was completely chewed off and he was very thin. The lion also suffered from a bone condition that made it difficult for him to walk. When Khan came to the rescue center, he was very aggressive, but the team knew the reason behind his behavior, his illness and the bad living conditions. Perhaps the fact that he wasn't given enough food also made Khan aggressive. However, the team knew that once Khan started feeling better, his behavior would change too, and they were right. Khan was a fighter and he recovered very soon. Formerly an aggressive beast, Khan became a disciplined animal and an integral member of the rescue center. Once Khan was cured, nothing could get him worked up. His previous aggression was due to his health issues. Even though Khan recovered from his illness, he still had some difficulties when walking though. The team was glad to see Khan getting better, and because of his good nature, they gave him a gift: cinderblock stairs. The stairs were made to help Khan reach his den easily. This ill-treated lion was finally able to live the life he deserved. His den was well kept, big and spacious, and soon he'd meet someone special. Even animals need to have friends, someone to play and have fun with. The chamber next to Khan's was empty until Sheila arrived. When these two met, they hit it off in no time. In short time, they became very good friends, but their relationship was much deeper than that. Because of Khan, Sheila started taking her medicine and her condition started improving. Sheila and Khan had a few things in common. Both of them had gone through the same tragedy, however their situations were a bit different. The Instinct founder explained that treating Khan was easier since he got comfortable with his new surroundings in no time. Sheila, on the other hand, had a hard time adjusting. It was because she was in very bad shape. She was almost dead when she arrived. Kei was so happy to see the condition of both lions getting better. She stated that as time went by, they both healed and grew into two beautifully grown lions. She also pointed out the team had built a new lion enclosure. It was designed so Khan and Sheila could live next to each other. Khan and Sheila spent so much time together. The team suspected their relationship could be more than just a friendship. Kei noticed that Sheila spent the next few months showing off for Khan, and Khan strutted his stuff for her. These two lions didn't even try to keep their love for each other a secret. Everyone realized that, and they were glad to see Khan and Sheila happy together. After the rescuers noticed Sheila and Khan's different affection for each other, they decided to let them date. But to prevent any accidents from taking place, they spayed Sheila, and then the two started spending so much time together. Vicky, one of the rescuers, explained that they did have short dates every day, then the days got longer and then unsupervised. Then the team let these two lovebirds spend the night together, and after 3 months of dating, they allowed them to get married. The team built a special enclosure for the two where they get to spend their special time together. But it seems Sheila is the boss in their relationship. Khan and Sheila can't seem to get enough of each other. Sheila's absolutely in love with the attention and affection she gets from her husband. Oh, let's not forget those special cardboard boxes he brings her all the time. Vicky also talks about Khan's possessive nature for his wife. Whenever he notices other lions getting close to her, he doesn't hesitate to confront them. Oh, and there are so many other ways he expresses his love. Having a wife as special and beautiful as Sheila is, Khan has to make sure she's safe all the time. He protects her from the other lions. Vicky says that Khan lets all the other guys know Sheila belongs to him. He roars and sometimes even charges at them. Who'd say the two animals can make such a perfect couple? But what happened to their owners who almost caused their death? Sheila and Khan's owners were punished for their improper treatment of animals. They're no longer entitled to keep big animals. Even though the owner was punished, many petitioners expected a stricter action and weren't satisfied with this minimal penalty. What started out as a sad story about a mistreated lioness ended up with conditional love. Sheila was so close to being euthanized. However, after meeting a special lion named Khan, her condition improved and she ended up in a blissful marriage. Such a beautiful love